I teach in a public elementary school, and I have fourth grade beginning lessons. I have two groups of 2 students and one group of 3 students. Some of the individual issues that I found were sort of the opposite of what Dana had. I had trouble following my curriculum that my school had set forth. I was given a method book, and I knew where my kids had to end up, but I didn't really like the method book I was given, and it didn't present the topics in the order that I would have if I had, free reign over teaching my kids. So I had to kind of find a way to work in the way that I would teach a student into this method book. Still kind of a difficulty, but it's something I was constantly worrying about. And secondly, I found that my students had these expectations of themselves. Like in the first lesson, if they couldn't all play hot cross buns, it seemed like the end of the world for my students. And I was trying to figure out where they got these ideas from. Like, were they listening to professionals play hot cross buns? And they were really upset. Like, I didn't know what was going on in their heads. So I really had to assure them, like, you'll get better. You just need to practice. And after giving them, practicing tips, I was seeing better work for my students. But initially, it was just very disconcerting that my kids had such low self-esteem about their music. So I had to work on that. And now we're going to go into some findings, some common themes that we found in all of our self-reflections.
So the first common theme that we all had was difficulty with pedagogy, specifically explaining abstract musical concepts, and especially in those first few weeks of teaching, we had a hard time always concisely conveying how to internalize a steady pulse, or maybe playing with a musical line. We weren't always the most clear with our explanations right away. And again, I got better with time. Expectations of our students. I know for a fact that all three of us walked into our first lesson and pinpointed our one student who's going to go on and be a music major. And we all had high hopes for these students who had the best buzz right away, and like, you're a natural, you're going to play in the New York Phil. And 3 weeks later, when they stopped practicing, they thought it was boring. First, there was a disconnect between our expectations for our students and what was really happening. And also, we turned to ourselves. We were wondering, Matt, how are we not motivating the students? What are we doing wrong as young teachers? And next, which kind of ties into that, expectations of ourselves as a teacher. None of us had problems getting up in front of the classroom every day, looking the part, being professionally dressed, ready to be a teacher, calling ourselves a teacher. But none of us always felt like a teacher. And we would sit there, and there's almost a struggle with our identity as, are we music educators? Are we college students who want to go out and have fun? Are we instrumentalists? We play our instrument. And we didn't really feel like we were doing, or we may have looked the part and acted the part, but we certainly didn't feel like we were doing it.
Another common group thing was pacing within lessons, and this is simply sometimes our pacing would be too slow, and other times we found it was just too fast. And then another thing is student engagement. So when we had group lessons, there'd always be one kid who seemed to be behind the rest, and you'd want to give them extra attention, but that was always hard to find a way to give them extra attention because all the other students needed to attention.
And finally, on a more positive note, we found that if we are ourselves in front of our students and let our personality shine through, that it's the best and most positive experience for both us and our students. And last but not least, we know that we're in the right profession. We're doing the right thing. We love music, we love teaching kids, and this program has really shown us that we're on the right path. And now, in a perfect world, if we could create our own music education program and our own junior teaching program, these are some of the things that we would like to see. We found that self-reflection is really valuable, especially on that place on our lesson plans where we have to do an assessment of the previous lesson. The close and ongoing link to our college coursework is really beneficial. Those assignments that we had in our wind instrument pedagogy class, we would learn about how to teach a child how to count quarter notes. We would teach each other in the college classroom and then take it to the schools and implement it immediately, and that's incredibly valuable. And formative assessment is useful. That ties in with the ongoing coursework and our ongoing connection with our teachers, because we get not only formal written assessments, but also informal chats on our car rides or just seeing the professors in the hallway, the ability to talk to them about our issues. And the frequent opportunity for informal peer interaction can help to contribute to a feeling of community. On some of the days that the public schools didn't have school, the supervisor teacher would provide a big pizza, and we would all sit around in one of the rooms in our building, and it would a lot of times be complaining about our kids, but sometimes it was just the ability to talk to people and realize that we're all in the same boat. in this music teaching preparation program?
Here are some things we've discovered throughout the world won't end because your kids can't play hockey.
Each of us has an inherent sense of how to teach, and we need to believe in that. I had this big epiphany on my last day of student teaching in my first semester, and I just realized I know how to play horn. I'm a college horn major. Why am I freaking out about how to get my students to play horn properly? If I listen to them, I'm going to know what to do to make them better. If I myself, I know I have the answers, and once I believe in that, the lessons are going so much smoother.
And everyone in the program is having the same difficulty. Discussing our issues with peers in an informal setting is incredibly valuable. Just the fringe benefits of doing a study like this is that I get to hang out with Devin and Dana a lot, and sitting around my dining room table, there would often be conversation that wasn't having to do with the study necessarily, but we would talk about teaching techniques. And the things that I've picked up just from discussing how we teach our kids has been so valuable. And I really think that you can never underestimate the ability of talking to your friends, because they will know something that you don't. And so that is the end of our presentation. We really enjoyed presenting to you today, and we hope that those of you who are going to be teaching in the future will learn to not fall into the things that we covered.
Open for questions or comments.
I know that you said you have a lot of informal opportunities to discuss your teaching, but maybe in like a seminar, do you have a chance to actually do what the three of you just did and share your different experiences with everyone?
That mostly happens like in TIM. Yeah. We talk about issues it's teaching instrumental music. Sorry to use the abbreviation. Teaching instrumental music is the course that we take in our junior year that we're in right now, and when we talk about retention of our students or how to keep students motivated, a lot of the things that we do with our junior teaching students come up in those in-class discussions.
Yeah, because I think that's really great. I mean, just because no situation is going to be the same, so it's really great to get the different perspectives. Like Dana's learning so much about developing a curriculum that maybe Christine, maybe you're not right now. But that's so great that you have these different experiences and you can explain and learn from each other. So when you go into a new program, when you're going to have to be doing all of those aspects by yourself, you get a little idea. But you can't take it all in by yourself in junior student teaching. So it's kind of neat that you all have different experiences and you can share about them.
We really compliment each other.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about, this is kind of what Dana was saying, about the importance of that informal conversation. Do you feel through being able to kind of take a closer examination of that you're able to discern between productive informal conversation about teaching and non-productive informal conversation about teaching?
Sitting around on a Friday night on our couches watching a movie and just like bashing our student who doesn't practice, not necessarily productive. I know that I think it was this past Sunday we sat around doing this and we had an incredibly productive conversation. It's because we were really bouncing ideas and hey, I have a student who does this. What would you do in this situation? Oh, okay, thanks, I'll try that. Or why don't you try this? And when it's actually getting to the point of making us better teachers and more informed educators, I think that's when it's productive, as opposed to just sitting around and venting is all.
Would it be helpful for professors to incorporate more time in the WIN-PED class or the TIM class, the courses that go along with the teaching experience, to give you some structured time to discuss more with your peers? Or would that conversation just sort of turn into unproductive discussion? I wonder if we could take something from what you're suggesting. What might you suggest we add to a course that would be really helpful for you based on this study?
Yeah, I think more discussion would be helpful, and you could certainly outline some guidelines to keep it productive, so to make sure try to keep it on topic. But I think more discussion time would definitely be helpful.
Actually, I feel maybe yes and no. Yes, it is, but I know when we have some things in teaching instrumental music, we're like, come on, it's money in my lunch.
Yeah.
Guided
Yeah,
discussion.
very guided. And also, but sometimes it's just spontaneous and you can't really plan for it. I know you'll just be sitting or I'll be passing Dr. Isbell in the hallway and I'll talk to him about my lesson and you have this great conversation and things emerge. So you can't really plan that at the same time.
quick. Nice job. I enjoyed the presentation. Just a quick comment about this productive versus non-productive. I think oftentimes it's difficult to know when something is unproductive or productive at the moment it's happening. Something that may seem unproductive later on may emerge as something that was really valuable. But this may be a difficult question or just spontaneous answer, but could you talk a little bit about the challenges when trying to connect the university classroom and the theories and the textbook and that with the real world? You say it's beneficial and you see these connections. Was it difficult to make those connections? Yeah. And if so, what specifically, why was it?
I have some strong feelings on that subject. I know, like, I had to teach Erica over there. Okay. I had to teach one of my classmates how to play eighth notes in class, and yeah, it was useful to go through the motions, but she knows how to play eighth notes super well. So I felt that maybe wasn't so.
Yeah, I actually compliment you on the work that you did, but also the energy and the enthusiasm and things like that. You made me feel good about the teachers of tomorrow. Would love to see what happens in the year. Yeah. To see how this impacts you.
Do another study.